It's a great day for a stroll here in the woods of Holyoke, Massachusetts, Jeff.
Yeah, it is. This path will take us up a hill to a pretty little spot that overlooks the nearby Connecticut River and the Mount Tom mountain range.
Whoa, I think I see our destination up ahead.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, there's big stone walls and stone archways. Almost looks like an old castle.
Yeah.
And I can see some stone cellar holes up here as well. Whatever this building was, it was pretty big. And clearly hasn't been a building for a long time either.
Yeah, right.
It's spooky just standing here.
Yeah, no, it is. So, Ray, we've come to the woods of Holyoke to explore the haunting Eyrie House Ruins. Hi, I'm Jeff Belanger, and welcome to episode 249 of the New England Legends podcast.
And I'm Ray Auger. Thank you for joining us on our mission to chronicle every legend in New England one story at a time. We're a community of legend seekers who love sharing stories through this podcast, through the New England Legends television series, and on our website. We're glad you're with us.
Did you know that on our website, there's an archive of every episode of our show with related photos, there's video clips, plus a calendar that tells you where you can see Ray perform with his band, the Pub Kings.
Wow.
Yeah, and all the conferences and stops on my ongoing story tour.
It's definitely worth a visit. And be sure to keep listening to After the Legend, the second half of our podcast, where we take a deeper dive and sometimes get a little distracted.
Sometimes.
All right, now, before we explore these spooky ruins in the woods of Holyoke, Massachusetts, we want to take just a minute to tell you about our sponsor, Nuati Herbals.
Nuati Herbals has so many great all-natural products that have become a part of my daily life. Anyone who's listened for a while knows I don't drink coffee. I never have, but I love tea. And Nuati Herbals has some of the best. The Healer Tea, Storyteller Tea, and their Cloud Walking Tea, just to name a few. And I have it on the highest authority that 2 new tea flavors will be available very soon. Keep your eye out for Blueberry Cinnamon and Peach Nilla. But they also have some great all-natural products that you should keep around the house, like their Moccasin Tracks Balm.
Right. Moccasin Tracks Balm from Nuati Herbals was originally developed for burns and minor skin irritations. It's great for that, but you should also keep some Moccasin Tracks Balm in your kitchen for the times you keep forgetting that frying pan is still hot. The sooner you put it on the burn, the better. The white willow bark helps with the pain, and the calendula, mullein, and plantain help to soothe and promote healing. Moccasin Tracks is also great for bug bites, rashes, cold sores, diaper rash. It's amazing how many skin conditions this will soothe.
Let Nuati Herbals help support your healthy lifestyle. Check out the Nuati Herbals website to see all their great products, and you get 20% off your order when you use the promo code LEGENDS20 at checkout. Don't forget to use it. Visit nuatiherbals.com. That's Nuati Herbals with an S.com.
All right, Jeff, first, Holyoke, Massachusetts is the birthplace of volleyball.
I didn't know that, but I did know right down the road nearby Springfield, Massachusetts is the birthplace of basketball.
2 huge international sports were born within miles of each other.
Wow.
Volleyball was invented in Holyoke by William G. Morgan in 1895 at the local YMCA. Today, the town is home to the International Volleyball Hall of Fame.
I wonder if Morgan ever spent any time at the Airy House Inn. I mean, he was around at the same time.
I see the spelling on the trail sign. It looks like it should be pronounced Erie.
Yeah, I see that. It's spelled E-Y-R-I-E, but pronounced airy, and the word refers to a large nest of birds of prey, like an eagle.
Well, no matter how you spell it, Jeff, this place is eerie.
Fair enough. Now, there's something about the way nature slowly creeps, crawls, and grows into and around buildings once we walk away. I mean, it's almost like nature's trying to swallow these buildings back down into the earth. So, the Airy House was once a hotel and a resort, a popular one too. People came here for fine dining, the views, and a pretty setting. But it was all lost in a single act, a funeral pyre that marked the end of an era. Let's head back to 1861 and see this once great hotel.
It's the early summer of 1861. President Abraham Lincoln just took office in March, and the Civil War began back in April. The nation is at war with itself, but here in Holyoke, Massachusetts, far from the front lines, folks are trying to keep things business as usual.
22-year-old William Street and his business partner, Hiram Farnham, want to get away from it all as much as the next person. So they lease 10 acres of land on the summit of Mount Nonotuck in Holyoke, and they start building a hotel.
Boy, this hotel isn't very large at all.
No.
It's more like a small house. Hold this measuring tape, Jeff.
Okay.
All right, looks like it's 26 feet wide
Yeah.
by 22 feet. This place is really small.
Yeah, it is. It's basically a place to sleep while you take in the beauty. William Street calls this place Airy House, a home in the clouds at the top of the mountain. The hotel officially opens July 4th, 1861. Room and board is $1 per day or $5 per week.
This is a pretty spot. And another benefit is that on the hottest summer days, there's often a breeze up here at the top of Mount Nonotuck. Pretty soon, picnickers and others make their way to this remote building.
By August, after an argument, Hiram Farnham quits the business, leaving it to William Street to manage on his own. Street purchases the land he was leasing and sees a bright future ahead.
Between the live bands that Street brings up here and the views, the Airy House is looking like a success. In the coming years, William Street builds onto the Airy House. The crowds are growing, as does the reputation. There's still live music, and upwards of 100 people per day are coming up here to walk the grounds, have picnics, listen to bands, and experience the Airy House.
It's 1866, when Street adds something new for visitors to see.
Wait, is that a monkey?
That is a monkey. Street fancies himself a collector of animals, and now he's building a menagerie up here on Mount Nonotuck.
More years go by, as do more expansions. Street also buys more land on Mount Nonotuck. By the late 1870s, the Airy House now also features a pavilion that can hold 400 people. And now there's a horse stable, too. The hotel has doubled in size and now features 25 guest rooms. In the coming years, an 80-seat dining room is added, as are promenades, and even the menagerie is growing. There's a bear and an alligator.
Really a good idea to add a bear and an alligator?
William Street seems to think so. In the off-season, Street lives up here mostly alone, taking care of the property. He enjoys his dual life as a hermit in the winter and then hotel host in the summer. Airy House offers the best of both lives. More winters and springs pass. Now it's 1893, and the Airy House Inn is getting rough around the edges. The New England seasons are taking their toll on the old wooden structure, and William Street is frugal. He's not keeping up with the place as much as he should. This place is Street's castle. He doesn't see the flaws, but when enough rotted boards and problems are pointed out to him, he figures maybe it's time the Airy House starts to look like a castle.
Tons of stones and cement are carted up to the top of Mount Nonotuck. Imposing walls with stone archways are built on part of the hill just below the existing wooden structure. The plan is to make this a 4-story stone inn, fireproof, castle-like, including a cog railway to bring up visitors. The construction will take years to complete.
Part of the reason for this substantial investment has to do with competition. The Mount Tom Summit House and Railway Park opens in 1897. There's also Prospect House at the top of Mount Holyoke, just across the Connecticut River. There's more options for people, more places they can go for their leisure time.
The pressure's on William Street. He's got to make the Airy House even bigger and better. It's now the spring of 1901, April 13th. Though 13 is an unlucky number, William Street isn't superstitious, but he's got some dark work to do today. 2 of his horses have recently died. And because there's so much rock in the ground, he can't dig a hole for the horses. So his plan is to drag their bodies to a small clearing away from the stables and pavilion, chop up some wood, and build a funeral pyre to burn the horses' bodies.
With the bodies burned and the grisly work finished, William shovels some of the embers towards the middle of the pyre, and he retires back up to the Airy House Inn for the night. Being so early in the season, he's the only person on the mountain tonight. It's 8 p.m. when William notices a strange orange glow outside of his window. It's unlike any light he's ever seen before, especially at night. When he walks to the window to get a better look, his mouth drops in horror when he sees the monster coming up the hill.
Oh, no.
There's a raging fire quickly climbing up the hill and heading toward the Airy House Inn. William knows there's no time to waste.
William grabs a shovel and any other tools he can to try to fight the blaze. He's trying to divert the burn away from the hotel. Realizing he's not going to win this fight, he races back into the hotel to try to rescue whatever items he can.
Meanwhile, this blaze can be seen in Northampton, Easthampton, and Holyoke. There's nothing locals can do but watch as the entire 900-foot mountain is engulfed in flames.
Inside the Airy House, William grabs a telescope, some souvenirs, and bedding. In his escape from the mountain, William burns his hand badly, but he races down the mountain with his precious few items from the hotel and his life.
By morning, Mount Nonotuck and the Airy House Inn lie in ashes. William Street realizes that his funeral pyre must not have been completely extinguished. An ember must have caught on a breeze and set the blaze in motion.
Even worse, the ever-frugal William Street was grossly underinsured on his property. There's over $10,000 in damage, and he's only insured for $2,000. He'll have nowhere near the money it would take to rebuild. There's nothing for William Street to do but walk away. He finds himself a shack out in the woods and lives the rest of his days as a hermit. The ruins of Airy House Inn are left to nature. And that brings us back to today.
The Mount Tom Reservation Commission made attempts to purchase William Street's land to make it part of their new nature preserve. When no agreement could be reached, the Mount Tom group took the land by eminent domain. They deposited $5,000 into an escrow account in William Street's name. But, being too proud, Street never took the money. Street died in 1917 at the age of 78. He never cashed that check.
The Springfield Sunday Republican newspaper covers the story the day after the blaze. The article claims that by 11 p.m., the entire inn was ashes, and the mountain burned itself out soon after.
If you'd like to visit the ruins, there's a well-marked trail in the Mount Tom Reservation that takes you to the top.
Not only do you have to contend with nature, poison ivy and snakes who like to duck in and out of the stone walls, but some say you can still feel the presence of old William Street's ghost still walking the grounds of his former hotel, still waiting to take in guests once more.
The stone ruins, the history, sometimes it feels like certain places just have memories, doesn't it?
It does. And that brings us to After the Legend, sponsored by Seaside Shadows.
Seaside Shadows offers a blend of history and mystery on their guided tours of southern New England. Joining us this week to talk about another New England funeral is company founder, author, historian, and storyteller Courtney Reardon.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, Ray. Thanks for having me. Funeral practices have quite a storied history in New England, and it seems all of them come with some sort of eerily memorable happening. In historic Concord, Massachusetts, the same funeral home has been in use for over 2 centuries and is seated at the base of Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. Some of Concord's most famous residents, such as Emerson, Alcott, and Hawthorne, all took a final carriage ride up the ridge to their final resting place in a carriage still kept by the noted funeral parlor today. And sometimes it's still in use if need be. Each of the noted authors had their own fascination with death and the afterlife, claiming various spiritual experiences before their own end. From corpse finding to spooky tales, on our Concord tours, we walk in the footsteps of their tales of life, death, and what comes after.
Head over to seasideshadows.com to learn all about their upcoming events and tours, murder mystery dinners, pub crawls, and more. There's always something new going on at seasideshadows.com, now open in Westerly, Rhode Island and Concord, Massachusetts. You can book your experience right online at seasideshadows.com. Start your tour of local legends, lore, and true history. So, you want to stay the night at the Airy House Inn?
Well, we can't now, can we?
Well, I suppose you could. It would be uncomfortable.
Pitch a tent.
There's no roof or anything like that.
Yeah.
But boy, it speaks to just sort of the fickle nature of people, when it comes to lodging and all this kind of stuff, right?
And we have a lot of this in New England, by the way.
We see this all the time, right?
Especially northern New England.
So this guy, Street had the market cornered. He had this pretty spot at the top of a mountain, Mount Nonotuck.
Yeah.
And then, he builds this inn and everybody's coming there. But then people see it's successful, so other folks build successful businesses on other mountains.
He's making money. Why shouldn't they?
Of course. And that's what happens, right? And sometimes they feed off each other, and it's great. This becomes a destination. Holyoke becomes a place lots of people go to. Oh, I can't stay at the Airy House. I'll stay over here.
Right.
I can't stay at this other Mount Tom resort. I'll stay at this one. And so sometimes it's great, but at the same time, people have limited dollars and time. And so suddenly he's feeling the burn. And this place that was so successful for so long.
Feeling the burn.
I know, right? It burns
Too soon.
down. Too soon. You know what? I really didn't even mean that. I didn't even mean it. But that's, sort of what happens. And I get, too, we've looked into plenty of stories, haunted hotels.
Right.
They all seem to be, some, especially the old ones, They're such transient places, so many people coming and going.
In and out.
Yeah.
People die.
Yeah.
Get sick.
And when you're up there today on this, it's all woods, right? I mean, it's a forest trail, and you see these stone walls and stuff. It looks like this old castle. There was a time where, especially nice summer days, weekends, hundreds of people would be in the pavilions. They'd be listening to bands. There'd be picnics. This was the place to go. And now it's the woods. It's the Mount Tom Reserve.
It's sad.
Well, sure.
You put so much effort into building something from scratch. We knew it was a very small area to begin with. Built it up to what you just described right there.
Yeah.
And then, like that, it's gone.
40 years.
Yeah.
It was there for 40 years. That's a whole generation, right? That's a whole person's life. He was in his 20s.
Those are kids that grew up and brought their kids there, and perhaps a grandchild.
Could be, absolutely. So it's one of those places that just, when you go there, it just kind of echoes from the past.
Yeah.
And because it's all overgrown now, I love that whole concept of when you leave a place alone, nature gets to work immediately. Like that. Like if you left your house
Thank you
today,
for giving it back to us.
Right.
We'll take it over
That's
from
right.
here.
If you left your house today, right? Like, okay, the lawn keeps growing.
Right.
What, a day or two, even a week, whatever. A month, right? People will notice. A year?
Yeah.
Whoa, right?
Something's wrong here.
10 years. And very soon, it starts to fall apart. It's incredible how a building will just completely deteriorate. Of course, setting it on fire
that doesn't help.
That's definitely a big part of it. But this was a person's dream. This was William Street's dream, and to live like a hermit, and then to be a hotelier, right? You kind of got to be this outgoing, gregarious, welcome.
You would think
please.
so,
yeah.
Which we talked about. He enjoyed the hermit life as well as being the ringmaster of his domain.
It must have been like a recharging kind of thing. Someone's going to ask this question, and I admit I could not find the answer. What happened to the menagerie when the fire, right? What happened to all the animals? And I don't know. I couldn't find it. The newspaper articles just talked about the $10,000 in damage. I'm not sure if by 1901 the menagerie had gone away.
Or it was too dark to talk about, maybe.
Maybe it was just like the monkeys and the alligators and the bears.
They haunt the woods now.
They haunt the woods. At one point, the bear was kept in the basement of the hotel.
Imagine stumbling upon that.
Right. Like, hey, could you go down and get some potatoes, Ray? Yeah, no problem. I'll just go down here and, oh my. Sorry, I forgot to tell you about Gentle Ben down there, right? But
that's funny.
Yeah, but so, think about it. Like a monkey and an alligator and a bear in Holyoke?
It's so random.
How could you not go there?
You need to draw people in.
Yeah.
So an alligator works, I guess.
You had me at monkey.
Come see the only alligator in Holyoke, Massachusetts.
Possibly Massachusetts, right? Possibly
true,
New England.
yeah.
I don't know, right? Who else is keeping alligators at this point?
Yeah.
But that was the thing, the menagerie, and that was what a pretty spot in a resort. And I can only imagine, as time goes on, you see this competition move in, you get a little bitter, like I'm going to build it bigger and better, and then it all just burns up because of a mistake. And of course, he couldn't dig in the ground. There's too much rocks, so he couldn't dig a hole for the horses. He had to burn them. And there's a fire safety moral in here somewhere.
I think so.
I feel like make sure when you're doing your brush fires and stuff that it's really out.
How many years pass from when it burnt down to when he died? I know he died in his
16
70s.
years. So 16 years after.
He was like 60 years old. That's
78. He was
right.
60 when it happened.
62-ish.
Yeah.
So that's very young.
Yeah.
Maybe not back then.
Yeah.
But still, I'm sure he had 16 more years, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
The things he could have accomplished with that place.
Yeah, and never took the money. So the eminent domain thing, this is troublesome, right? So he had this business for 4 decades. And Massachusetts basically was coming in and saying, hey, we're going to turn all this land into a nature preserve. Can we pay you for it? And he's like, nope, I don't want to sell. And then eventually, as we know would happen today, by the way, right? Like if someone comes to you and says, hey, the town wants to come put a bypass through your yard, we'll give you top dollar for your house. your best move, I think, is to wait and take the second offer.
Yeah.
Because they'll up it, right?
Right.
But if you wait too long, they'll say, now we're going to take it and just give you market value.
We were being nice before, but
Yeah.
now we're just going to take it.
Now we're just going to take it. It's called eminent domain.
Yeah.
It's been around from the beginning. It's, it's horrible. It's un-American. It's all the things, it's terrible. But it happens. And so they just took it, and then they felt bad and offered him a $5,000 check that he never touched.
Wow.
And
Well, think about the psychological damage he endured by, he caused that fire.
It's his fault, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it was a dumb mistake.
Right. Yeah.
And you have to live with that.
Yep. I lost everything because of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't blame anyone else.
Nope. Yeah.
So no wonder he went into hiding.
Yeah. Right. And he was just done and just stayed a hermit the rest of his days. And that's kind of how this stuff goes sometimes, and that haunts us. And I think that's part of the reason that we tell these stories and we go to visit these places, which, by the way, all public land. You can get up there and hike any old time you want.
Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts because, well, it's free. And be sure to share these episodes with a friend or two. It's how our community continues to grow.
We'd like to thank our sponsors, Nuati Herbals and Seaside Shadows. I'd like to thank our Patreon patrons. Just head over to patreon.com/New England Legends to get early access to new episodes, plus bonus episodes and content that no one else gets to hear. And, of course, our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember,
The bazaar is closer than you think.